What if I told you it's incredibly easy to catch bass in the fall? It only takes a few pieces of knowledge and they will be very easy to find and catch. Stick to the end of this video and I will give you a step-by-step guide to do exactly that. So fall is one of the best times to catch big bass as these fish are feeding up for the winter, but oftentimes it can be very complicated. It seems like the fish are nowhere to be found and don't want to bite anything that you're throwing. So today I'm going to break down exactly how to find these bass in the fall, why I feel a buzzbait is probably one of the best baits that you can throw for these fish in the fall. And we're even going to talk about how to utilize this bait to catch these fish or even just find them to use other baits in those areas and catch fish throughout the fall. But before we can get into actually fishing for these fish or talking about the gear we need, first we need to understand fall bass behavior and why they do what they do. That is the most important part to catching these fish in the fall, and some little triggers that you can see along the way to make sure you're following the fish where they need to be. Now in the springtime, oftentimes bass move shallow because they're going to spawn and then they feed up and do all of that stuff. But in the fall, they technically do the same thing, but they're not looking to spawn. In the fall, what happens is they're looking to put on as much weight as possible. When you catch those fish in the summer, they're often skinny and they don't have a lot of weight on them because the water's so hot and they use a lot of energy. When the water starts to cool down, for them to last throughout the winter, they need to put on weight. So they're gonna eat as many bait fish as they can, and that is going to be your driving factor to find the most fish this time of year. You need to be fishing around the bait fish. It doesn't matter what type of bait fish you have in your lake, whether it's bluegill, perch, shad, does not matter. They need to be around a food source as close as they can get to it because all they're going to do all day long, eat, eat, eat. So the main thing that happens in the fall is the lakes turn over, and you might have heard of this before as the fall turnover. What actually happens is in the summer, the colder water is at the bottom of the lake and the hotter water is on the top. As you get colder nights, like right now, it's 38 degrees this morning, very, very cold. That surface temperature starts to cool down. As that gets colder than the bottom water in the lake, your lake will turn over because the hotter water will come back up to the surface. And when it does that, everything equalizes out and it all becomes one water temperature. That is what makes fall fishing so tough, because the fish could live in 1 inch of water or they could live all the way out deep in however deep they want to live in because all the water temperature is the same. And that is where the bait fish come in. To find them then, you have to follow the bait fish, as opposed to in the summertime, you could find a key piece of cover offshore and know there's cooler water and they're gonna sit on that. Now they wanna be around the bait fish. And there's a trick. When the water cools down, the bait fish go to the coolest water they can find. So usually it is going to be up there on the bank. The bass will follow them very shallow for a brief period of time and eat as many as they can. It's also usually around tributaries, creek mouths, water runoff, anything you can find that's cold water coming into the lake. Those bait fish are gonna migrate to that very, very quickly and hang around that. Now this only lasts for a brief period of time. It happens when the water hits about 72 degrees and it will last until the water hits about 58 degrees. That little window right there is the magic time to be throwing the buzzbait. So let's get into why we should be throwing a buzzbait during that window when the water temp is in that range. When these fish get up shallow and start chasing bait, the other thing that happens is they can kind of roam around. They don't need to be tight to a piece of cover, which usually they will be, but they don't need to be. And to find those fish, you could sit there and flip a jig all day or do something slow like that, or you can cover a ton of water with a buzzbait. And this does two things. One, it's on top and it's visual. So if a fish bites it, you know you had a bite. Whether it eats the bait or not, you know there's fish in that area because you can see them come up and bite it. And two, you work this bait very quickly. So you can cover a ton of water in a short period of time to find the fish. And a lot of times these bait fish will move this time of year. They'll be in one spot one day, they'll move to a different spot another day. So you have to cover water to re-find those bait fish and ultimately re-find those fish. So that is why the buzzbait is so deadly. Let's run through the gear we have right here and then we're gonna show you where and how to fish it to catch these fish. Now I have this just on a worm and jig rod. You do not need anything special to fish a buzzbait. You just want something that's a medium heavy power with a fast action. This is a 7'3". And the reason for that is it's a single hook bait. So you need to get this hook through the fish's mouth when they come up and bite it. You don't need any give in your rod or anything like that. These fish are either gonna get the bait or they're not. They're gonna come up and bite this thing on a mission and they're either going to get it hooked in their mouth or miss. And if they miss, you can follow it up with other baits that are slow moving to try and re-catch that fish. As for the reel, you need a fast gear ratio. I'm fishing a 7:4 to 1 gear ratio here. We wanna not only cover water, but this buzzbait sinks. So when you throw it out there, you need a fast gear ratio to get that bait up on top quickly and then staying on top of the water. Once these blades start catching water, you can slow it down a little bit just to keep it floating on top of the water. But to get it up on top, you really need those blades catching water, and that's what will lift the bait and drive it to the surface. So a 7:4 to 1 gear ratio is fantastic. My setup here, Corrado MGL that I always have, and the Cashin Icon worm and jig rod. I spool all this up with 30-pound braid. You can use monofilament with a buzzbait. If you do, use like 20-pound test, use some big line so you don't break off. You're gonna be fishing it around a lot of cover, a lot of abrasions on your line. Monofilament actually helps a little bit better because it does not get tangled in the actual blades of the bait, but I like braid. It just gives me a direct connection to my bait, and I can throw other top waters on there too. If I want to cut that buzzbait off and throw a whopper plopper, I'm good to go. I like 30-pound braid is like my #1 top water fishing line. I pretty much fish all of my top waters on that line pound test right there. And then you have to select a buzzbait. Now we're going to keep it really simple here. For color, you are only going to use a black or a white buzzbait. That is all you need. Now today, I know these fish are feeding on shad, so I'm actually going to be throwing a white buzzbait. But today's not the ideal day for a white buzzbait. I just know that they want to eat shad and I want something that looks like a shad. Oftentimes in the fall, the white one is the best color just because they're usually chasing white bait fish. But if you have a very sunny day like we have today, a black one actually stands out better because it's a straight shadow against a bright blue or bright white sky. On a cloudy day, when you get those cloudy conditions, it's dark, it's black outside, you have rain clouds moving in, that's when that white actually stands out better. I mean, if you just hold this bait up to the sky by itself, this blends in a lot more than a black one would today, and if the sky was a dark background, held this up, it would blend in a lot more. Now I'm going to be fishing a double buzzbait today. Pick your favorite one. This is the Accent B2. I also have a Booyah Buzz that has a clacker, and I have the Greenfish Tackle Hammerhead. Those are all three of the buzzbaits that I have in the boat today. We might play around with some of them, but I really like the double buzzbait. This thing just gets on top of the water and stays up there effectively because it has two counter-rotating blades. And I want to keep it up here and around this cover, working it slowly but quickly, if that makes sense. You want the bait moving slow on top of the water, but being able to cover water and make a lot of casts. But if you have a favorite buzzbait, pick whichever one you want. As long as you can get it on top of the water, making noise and covering water, you're going to have success. Pick those two colors and your favorite buzzbait. You will have success with this technique in that water temperature range. Now, lastly, we got to talk about size. These buzzbaits come in sizes. They have 3/8, half, quarter. Why would they come in a size if they're all topwater lures? That is the trick with a buzzbait that not many people know about, but the size actually drives how fast you can reel this bait on top of the water. So this is a 3/8 ounce double buzzbait. It doesn't cast very far. It has a lot of wind resistance, but I can keep it on top of the water very slowly. Now, if you want your bait to move a little bit quicker, you can tie on a 1/2 ounce single bladed buzzbait and you can reel that thing really fast and it will not blow out of the water or do anything erratic like that. It will stay in the water a lot better, but it also sinks faster so it doesn't get up on top of the water as quickly. So choose that given how deep your water is. We're gonna be fishing in 3 to 1 foot of water today, really shallow. I want something that stays up and gets up quickly, but choose a size that fits your body of water and how fast you want to fish that bait. If you have really aggressive chasing fish, pick a faster one. If you have lethargic largemouth like we have today, we had a very cold front last night, it was 35 degrees, I'm gonna pick a slower buzzbait so that they have a chance to come catch this thing if they're not really in the mood to chase. Now that we got this thing all rigged up, I'm gonna throw a trailer hook on this so we don't miss any fish, and then we're gonna get up here and show you where and how to fish it to catch the most fish. And as always, all the gear will be linked in the description below if you'd like to check any of these products out and help support the channel. Using any of those links helps me to continue making awesome videos like this, but for now, let's get to fishing and catching some fish. Now that we got our trailer hook all on our buzzbait, we're ready to get to fishing this thing, but where do we wanna throw this? Now for me, one, you gotta find the bait like we talked about, but you can find the bait with this bait like we had talked about just by covering water. So there's tons and tons of bank down through here. There's all kinds of cover in the water. They could be on any little stretch of this. It just depends on where the bait fish wanna be at this given time. So for me, I just cover a bunch of water. I throw at any target that looks nice and I go ahead and just wind it back through there. We'll talk about how to fish it in just a second here, but there's so much cover in the water that I just basically put the trolling motor on and let it rip. I mean, it's not really a fancy technique or anything you need a whole lot of high-tech equipment for or anything like that. Even if you're fishing on the bank, I could walk down this bank the entire way and just cast along the bank, cast out, and kind of just cover water. Just fan cast your way around. So if I was even on the bank, I'd throw a cast at this little log right here. I'd bring that back in. Maybe I didn't get a bite there, but there's a little gap right here. So I'd throw it down there. I'd bring it back through there. I don't get a bite there, and I can just keep covering water like that, repeatedly casting, covering water, and bringing it back in. Now, if you're on the bank, reel this thing all the way back to your feet. Do not pick it up out of the water early. Reel it slowly all the way back to your feet. You will get bit right in front of you. I've had some today even bite it right next to the boat, and I'm in a boat, out away from the cover. It's simply just one of the best fall lures that you can throw. Now, as for the retrieve, it's even more simple. You literally cast it out and reel it in. I don't do anything else unless it gets stuck in a little bit of grass. I'll twitch it free, but other than that, you cast it out and reel it in. The key is that you just need to start reeling the second it hits the water so it doesn't sink too deep. The more you let it sink, the less of a cast you have because you have to allow that lift to get that bait all the way back up on the surface and going before those fish will bite it. So a cast, you throw it out, I start reeling as soon as that thing hits the water. I mean, I'm almost even reeling before it hits the water. I'm clicking my reel over. I do switch hands. I can't reel with my left hand, but I cast right-handed. So my cast looks like a throw, switch in the air, and stop it, and then start reeling as soon as it hits the water. You have to have your brakes set perfectly on your reel to be able to do that. You can throw it, you can switch your hand in the air, and still thumb the spool and start it as soon as it hits the water. If you don't, you could still throw it out there. I mean, it's a habit for me at this point. I literally just did it without even thinking about it. But what you could do, if you don't switch hands, you throw it out there, it hits, switch immediately and start reeling. You just have to be very quick on it like that. But as soon as you get it going, all I do is just a slow, steady retrieve like this. You could see how slow I'm reeling it. This thing's still staying on top of the water. Now, granted, you don't want to fish it that slow, but you basically want to find that happy medium. You throw it. You don't want it flying like this, shooting water in the air, making tons of noise, barely skimming across the water, and you don't want it just going blop, 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 blop. So you want it right in the middle where it's staying up on top, making noise. You'll hear the blade kind of squeak a little bit, making a little bit of a pop, and occasionally they'll tick together, and that's all you're looking for. That speed right there, that is the magic retrieve. That's all the faster you need to do it. And you just cover a bunch of water. So let's put it all to work and catch us some fish. And before we get to fishing the bait, if you could head down below and hit the subscribe button. Only 14% of you that watch the channel are actually subscribed, and I'm trying to reach that 100,000 subscriber mark. So if you could help me out with that goal, that would be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's talk about where, how, and get to fishing this bait to catch some big bass. Let's get to work. There's a lot of good looking bank down through here. I think we're gonna get some bites. Maybe we'll catch a big one, who knows? But I just like catching fish on a buzzbait. If I can catch fish on top water, I'll always catch them on top water, but the fall buzzbait bite is exceptional. For some reason, they just love this thing. They love to come up and bite this. You can cover a ton of water. You don't have to worry about if you're around fish. They will let you know. And it's just a really fun way to fish. Now, granted, you could, once you catch some fish on this technique, say I start catching some fish down through this big laydown right here, you could pick up a jig or something else and fish in that area and probably catch more fish. For me, I just keep it rolling. And I catch the active ones. That's the way I like to fish in the fall. Usually they're the bigger ones. They're gonna wanna eat as much food as possible, and the buzzbait is known to catch big bass. So I try and target the biggest fish I can this time of year. You might not catch as many. Like if I threw a Senko in this log, I'd probably catch some fish, but you might not catch as many with the buzzbait, but usually they're the better fish. And that's what I wanna go for. Fall is when they're feeding. Oh, I missed that one even with the trailer hook. No. That looked like a good fish. We're gonna throw it right back in there. Fall is just one of those times where you can catch some monster bass this time of year. It is some of my favorite times of the year to fish. I know a lot of people don't like it. Fishing can get tough, but I like going out there and, oh, we missed it again. I like going out there and trophy hunting and just trying to catch a couple big fish. And this is the time of year to do it, if you can hook them. You could see I can just work it through this entire laydown like this. Like there's not many other baits that you can just launch back into a laydown like that and have it come out clean and get bites while doing it. My biggest struggle with the buzzbait is I set the hook way too early. As soon as I see them blow up on it, I just want to rip their face off. And that is not what you want to do. Proof of that fish right there. I have 2 hooks on here. I got a trailer hook on and I still missed them. Got that one. See how I didn't reel or didn't set the hook? I literally just let him load up on it and we got us one. It's a decent one right there. See how skinny he is? That's what they're trying to feed up now. They're just starting. The water temperature is 66, so they're just starting to feed up. It probably dropped a lot last night with how cold it is. They try and put on as much food as they can for the fall. Let's throw him back and let's get us another one. Uh-oh. And there was one up there too. All I had to do was make a good cast. No. Got him. Biggin'. Come here, buddy. No, he's not that big. He just hit it really hard. Tragically, I lost my double white buzzbait. It's actually sitting on that log this fish just came off of. I knew I was gonna get a bite there, but we switched up to a black one and he actually hit it much harder. So I think we're gonna keep fishing with it for a second and see. Technically, this is the correct one to be throwing for the day. You should be throwing a black buzzbait on a sunny day like this. So we'll see, maybe we'll get a couple more bites switching up to the right color. Not a big one. I thought he was big the way he hit it. We're gonna throw him back. We're gonna get back after it. Let's see if we can catch us another one. There we go. Oh, it's a giant one. It's a giant one. Let's go. Look at that fish. Look at that fish. That is a gorgeous one on the buzzbait. That's gotta be almost 4. Look at that buzzbait. He just came up and smoked that right off that little stump right there. You can just cover a ton of water, find where these fish are at. It's super effective. That one actually got the hook really good because I went to that trailer hook, but I think the black, they actually can see it a little bit better in the water. She wanted all of it. She got both hooks. Look at that fish right there. Beautiful, beautiful largemouth on the buzzbait. And while the buzzbait is an incredible fall bass fishing lure, if you want to learn how to fish every topwater lure, because other ones will work this time of year too, check this video out right here where I went into a deep dive on how to fish every single topwater lure. Hit that subscribe button down below and thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.